As you all know, REC finances the power infrastructure as well as the non-power infrastructure now. We will very soon proceed to the investor presentation. May I request Shri Sanjay Kumar Reddy Finance to please do the honors.
Good afternoon, everybody. So, we have divided the presentation into 5 parts: REC overview, operational performance, asset quality, borrowing profile, and financial highlights. So, in case we go to the REC overview, we have given the journey, key strengths, government's trusted arm, Maharatna status, foray into the infrastructure sector, shareholders outlook, and awards and accolades. So, REC journey started from the year 1969. It has already completed 50 years of existence. Our foundation day was just on 25th of July this year itself. And in 2023, in case we go to the main things which we did in the last one and a half years. So in 2023, we did the largest green bond of USD 750 million. That was the largest one by the Southeast Asian issuer, and first after the G20 presidency also. And REC has also been appointed as the implementing agency for the rooftop solar scheme, and it also did the maiden yen bond issuance of JPY 61.1 billion. That is almost equivalent to about 420 million US dollars in the year 2024. So REC has been raising funds from the international market frequently. So number of term loans REC has raised, and the bond issuance also REC has done a number of them in the last one and a half year. In case we go to the key strengths of REC, REC is a Maharatna company, and it is a strategic player in the Indian power infrastructure and logistics sector. It is nodal agency under the RDSS, Saubhagya, Deen Dayal Upadhyay. Whatever the schemes of the Government of India, Ministry of Power were there, REC was always a nodal agency in all of those schemes. It occupies a strategic position in the growth and development of the power and renewable energy sector, and it has the highest credit rating from all the 4 major domestic rating agencies, that is AAA, and international rating at par with the sovereign rating, that is Baa3 from Moody's and BBB- from Fitch. In addition to that, for the Japanese bond issuance, REC also got the Japan Credit Rating Agency, which is also at par with the sovereign rating, that is BBB+. It has the healthy asset quality with adequate provisioning coverage ratio, diversified asset base with robust access to diversified funding sources, and strong fundamentals and profitable business with stable margins leading to strong profitability. It is an experienced management team with sector expertise. So, as already I have told you, REC is the nodal agency in almost all whatever the schemes, the flagship schemes of the Ministry of Power are there. REC got the Maharatna status in the year 2022-23. So there are certain advantages. It is the top performing PSUs. It has been granted to the top performing PSUs, and REC is out of the 13 PSUs which have been accorded this Maharatna status. There are certain advantages which are associated with this. It gives the greater operational and financial autonomy, allows strategic investment by incorporating JV subsidiaries, etc., and accelerating growth and supporting Government of India's vision for power sector. REC has also forayed into the infrastructure and logistics sector in the year 2022, in the month of September 2022. So the various areas which are covered under this is health, metro, portways, waterways, airport, oil refinery, roads, highways, IT, infra, and fiber optics, and steel infra. So in case we see the shareholders outlook, as on 30th June 2024, 52.63% of the shareholding is that with the PFC, that is the holding company, and FPIs and FIIs have been consistently holding more than 20% in REC. So at present their holding is 20.43%, and the corporate banks and mutual funds, etc., also holding about 10%. In addition to that, the individuals, HUFs, and the NRIs, they are holding about 11%. So there has been phenomenal increase in the REC share price in the last one and a half year. As on 30th June 2023, REC share price was 166.23 and increased to 525.4 as on 30th June 2024. So in case we see the REC is earning per share, that is 13.07, and on annualized basis it's 52.28, and the book value per share is 274.77. The total shareholders return during the last 1 year itself to the shareholders is 226%. That is without taking into consideration the dividend which has been declared today. these are the top 10 shareholders, the Power Finance Corporation, HDFC Balance Advantage Fund, Nippon India Coin Fund. So most of the mutual funds and the insurance companies are there, so who are holding this. In addition to that, Government of Singapore is also holding about 1.02%. REC has been consistently high dividend paying company. The total dividend which was declared by REC in the year 2024 was 160%, and today REC has declared first interim dividend of 3 rupees 50 paise per share. So number of awards and accolades REC has got. As far as corporate governance is concerned, REC gives a lot of importance to that, and it has also been awarded the Plaque Award under the financial service sector by the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India for excellence in financial reporting for the year 2022-23. So number of other awards are also there which have been given to REC under the renewable sector and best employer in the diversity and inclusion, sustainability champion editors award, and for the year 2023-24 REC is amongst the 20 most profitable companies as per the BSE and Money Control. Now going to the operational performance, this has been divided into 6-7 segments, roughly sanctions, disbursement, outstanding loans, Pan India presence, etc. As far as sanctions are concerned, in Q1 FY25, the total sanctions which were made by REC, that is the approvals, were 1,12,791 crore rupees. As compared to the corresponding period of the last year, it was higher by 24%. In the last year, it was 90,797, and the increase in renewable, including large hydro, in Q1 itself was 59%. So in all the sectors, in case we see, there is a phenomenal increase as far as the sanctions are concerned. Only in case of LPS and LIS, the scheme which is almost over, and the special loans, which were virtually not capex loan. In all other categories, there is a quite higher increase in the sanctions. As far as the disbursements are concerned, this is the highest first quarter disbursement which have been made by the REC, and the total amount of disbursement which were made was 43,652. Logistic core, that is 13%. In case we see the outstanding loan composition, the state constitute about 89% and private about 11%. And out of that, generation conventional constitute about 1,47,913, that is about 28%, and renewable including large hydro 42,936, that is 8%, and transmission 9%. The share of the renewable in the total loan composition is increasing. In the year 2023, as on 30th June 2023, it was 6%. Now it has increased to 8%. So there are infrastructure logistic also 13,004. This is the component. The main thing to emphasize here is that the increase in loan book over the previous year is 17%. As on 30th June, in case we see the period of 1 year before that, that was 17%. Now also it is 17%. So virtually it is maintained at about 17%. So this we are able to maintain for the last 2-3 years. REC's Pan India presence, we have lent to almost all the states. We are lending to 28 states, and the amount which has been lent to the state sector is 4,70,653, that is 89%, and private sector borrowers 59,086. And the total loan outstanding is 5,29,739. In case we see the outstanding loans, major borrowers, these we have mentioned here, the Tamil Nadu Generation Distribution Company, Maharashtra, these are all state sector borrowers. And the main thing to mention here is that there is no NPA in these top 10 accounts in the entire history of REC from the year 1969 itself. And we have a well-diversified asset portfolio with top 10 borrowers accounting for about 37% of the outstanding loans, and none of the top 10 borrowers account for more than 7% of the total loan book. In case we see the asset quality is consistently improving. As on December 22, it was the gross NPA was 3.63%. Now it has come down to 2.61%, while the net NPA has come down from 1.12% to 0.82%. And the provisioning coverage ratio is also at 68.48%. So the reasonable level of the provisioning coverage ratio is maintained in respect of the stressed assets. In case we see the loan portfolio and ECL provisioning, out of the total loan book of 5,29,739, the NPAs are 13,810. Out of that, we have made a provision of 9,457, that is 68.48%. And stage 1 and stage 2 assets constitute about 5,15,929. So it's only 13,810, that is NPA. So on 5,15,000, we have maintained a provision of 3,395, that is 0.66%. And the total ECL provision which is maintained as on date is 12,852. case we see the credit impaired assets, there are total 16 projects which are under different stages of resolution, and under NCLT there are 12 projects. These constitute 12,262 crore, and the 71% provision has already been made. In the past, we have seen that in all the cases which are under NCLT where resolutions are happening, there are substantial write-backs that are happening. So in current year also we are expecting that most of the assets will be resolved and there will be write-backs in almost all the assets. And rupees 1,542 crore is the resolution which is pursued outside NCLT. Two of the states assets in Nagai Power and Lanco Mercantile with aggregate amount study of 2,775 crore rupees. The resolution plan has already been filed with NCLT and we already know. In case we see the credit ratings already mentioned that we have the rating at par with the sovereign rating as far as the international rating is concerned from Moody's, Fitch and Japan Credit Rating Agency, and domestically we have the highest rate rating from all the four rating agencies, that is CRISIL, ICRA, AIR and MBA. In case we see the outstanding borrowing profile, the total amount which RSE has borrowed through different ways of sources is 4,58,794 crore. And the institutional bonds constitute 1,93,000 crore rupees, that is about 42%. And the foreign currency borrowing, including the FNRB loans, constitute about 31%. 54 EC capital gains tax exemption bonds 9%, and tax-free bonds and infra bonds 42%, and term loans for banks and financial institutions 16%. And the foreign currency borrowings account for about 30% of the outstanding borrowing as on 30th June 2024, as compared to 29% as on 31st March. 99% of this borrowing which we have made, and that is hedged up to the maturity. And the cost of borrowing which we are having in respect of this outstanding borrowing in respect of foreign currency borrowing is about 6.54%, which is much lower as compared to all other sources of borrowing which we are making. The total funds which RSE raised in first quarter was 46,831, and out of that 51% was to the foreign currency borrowing. And during Q1 FY25, RSE also availed the SACHE covered green loan for 60.536 billion Japanese yen. That was first of its kind collaboration between an Indian government entity and SACHE from Italy virtually, with participation from banks across Asia, USA and Europe. In case we see the key financial highlights, the total income stands at 13,037 crore rupees, and vis-a-vis the first quarter of the last year, it is 19% higher. The net interest income stands at 4,713 crore rupees, that is 30% higher as compared to the corresponding period of the last year. Net profit stands at 3,442 crore rupees, and total comprehensive income 3,525 crore rupees. The loan book has reached 5.3 lakh crore rupees, vis-a-vis 4.54 crore rupees in the corresponding first quarter of the last year, that is 17% increase. And asset quality has improved with net credit impaired assets of 0.82%, vis-a-vis 0.97%. The net worth stands at 72,351 crore rupees, and the capital adequacy is at comfortable level of 26.77%, with Tier 1 capital of 24.27% and Tier 2 of 2.5%. In case we see the key ratios, the yield on loans that we have been consistently able to maintain at the similar level as on for the 12 months financial year 24, that is 9.99%, while on the other hand, cost of borrowing has substantially come down. In the corresponding quarter of the last year, it was 7.23. Now it has come down to 7.05. And as on 31st March 2024, also it was 7.13. So from 7.13 also it has come down by 8 basis points. As a result, the interest rate has improved to 2.94, net interest margin to 3.64, and return on net worth of 19.51. The interest coverage ratio is 1.54, and debt equity ratio is 6.27. That is also quite comfortable. This is standalone profit and loss and balance sheet which we have given. So virtually in this particular quarter there is no new NPA which has been added, and for the last 10 quarters there is no new NPA added. The only increase in respect of the provisioning which we have made in this particular quarter, that is about 472 crore rupees, that is the provision which has been made. That is on a prudent basis that we have maintained a provision in respect of the stage 1 and stage 2 assets.
Colleagues on the dais, Shri V.K. Singh, Director Project, Shri Harsh Parveja, Director Finance, Shri Sanjay Kumar, ED Finance, the independent directors present, Mr. Narayan Tirupati ji, all the officials of REC, and my dear friends from media. I am happy to share with you that REC has maintained the growth trajectory which we have started, which we had embarked 2 years back. In the FY23, our loan book had increased from 3,85,000 crore to 4,35,000 crore, marking an increase of 13%. But in the last financial year, FY24, our loan book increased from 4,35,000 crore to 5,09,000 crore, registering a growth of 17%. So we had committed to our investors when we had announced the annual results of FY24 that we are targeting growth trajectory varying from 15 to 17% in the next 5 to 6 years by the year 2030. And we are targeting to double our loan book to about 10 lakh crore by the year 2030. I'm happy to share with you that in the Q1, first quarter of the current financial year, we have been able to maintain the growth trajectory of 17%. Our loan book has increased by 17% to about 5,30,000 crore. We have also been able to reduce our net NPA. Our net NPA, net credit impaired assets have been reduced to 0.82% as compared to 0.86%, which was there at 31st March 2024. And if we compare as on 30th June last year 2023, our net credit impaired asset was about 0.97%. We are committed to become zero net NPA company by the end of this financial year, because all the assets are under advanced stage of resolution as made in the presentation. Our 16 assets are there, which are there. Out of 16 assets, 7 assets are heading towards liquidation. That process is going to be completed. We have already made 100% provisioning in respect of those assets which are heading towards liquidation. Remaining assets like Sinnar Thermal Power Plant in Nasik, KSK Mahanadi and Hiranmaye project. These 3 operating assets are there where bidding process has commenced, and we are quite hopeful that we'll be able to resolve these 3 operating assets, and we are expecting a good amount of write back from this resolution of these assets. Our total sanctions have gone up by 24% if we compare with Q1 of last financial year. Last financial year in Q1 we had sanctioned about 90,797 crore. This year we have been able to sanction projects worth 1,12,791 crore. The disbursement has seen a growth of 28%. Last year in Q1 2023 we had disbursed 34,133 crore. This year we have registered a growth of 28%. Now our disbursement at the end of Q1 was 43,652 crore. The most distinguishing feature is that our sanction as well as disbursement for renewable energy project is increasing by leaps and bounds. The disbursement in respect of renewable energy project has seen a growth of 249% as compared to Q1 of last financial year. Our revenue from operation has grown by 19%. As if we compare Q1 figures of last year from 10,976 crore, it has increased to 13,023 crore. The total income has also increased by 19% from 10,981 crore to 13,037 crore. The net interest income has gone up by 30% in Q1 as compared to last year's Q1 of 3,612 crore. Our net interest income has grown to 4,713 crore. Our net profit has increased by 16%. It has increased from 2,961 crore to now 3,442 crore. And we have today announced, our board has announced a dividend, first interim dividend of 3.5 rupee per share as first interim dividend in the current financial year. The yield has increased from 9.82% to 9.9%. 9.99%, this has been increase of 17 basis point. The most distinguishing feature is that we have been able to contain our cost of the funds. As compared to Q1 of the last financial year, the average cost of fund last year Q1 it was 7.23%. It has gone down by 18 basis point to about 7.05% in Q1 of current financial year. We had also been able to increase our spread from 2.59% of Q1 of 2023 to this year's spread has increased by 35 basis points to about 2.94%. The net interest margin has increased by 36 basis points from 3.28% to 3.64%. Our return on net worth is about 19.51%. The market capitalization in Q1 has increased by 219% from 43,356 crore. The market capitalization at the end of 30th June was 1,38,348 crore. And as we are talking, till yesterday our market capitalization has increased about 1,65,000 crore. We would like to assure our investors that we'll be able to hold on to our spread of more than 2.9% and net interest margin which we achieved at 3.64%, that also will be able to hold on. So as promised to our investors, the larger picture I would like to present is that we are getting sufficient business from our traditional coal-based generation as outlined by Ministry of Power recently. The additional capacity generation which is coming up in brownfield project, that coal-based generation capacity will require a capex about 6,67,000 crore. As our market share in traditional power sector is about 20%, we are hoping that we'll capture minimum business of 20% of this 6,67,000 crore opportunity is there for financing coal-based generation plants. The distribution sector has seen a total turnaround with the introduction of revamped distribution sector scheme. The operational and financial efficiency of distribution companies have started improving. The government department dues are coming down. The legacy dues also coming down. They've been able to maintain the predefined trajectory as committed by the respective state government's cabinet resolution. Most of the states, more than 95% of states are able to maintain that trajectory. The legacy subsidy dues are coming down. Government department dues are coming down. AT&C losses has seen major reduction. More than 5% reduction has happened in the last 1 year. The introduction of late payment surcharge rule has really improved the financial health of not only distribution companies but also the generating companies and transmission companies, because their dues are getting paid now. The legacy dues are getting cleared over a period of 4 years. This started from June 2022. Now we are quite hopeful that by the year 2026, all the legacy dues of generating companies and transmission companies would get liquidated. And the most important thing is that the current dues are being paid on time, and so much so that state governments have started paying the current subsidy quarterly in advance to the distribution companies. So this has overall resulted in improvement of the distribution companies, which in turn has improved the financial health of the generating companies and transmission companies. REC has also been made National Program Implementation Agency for the National Rooftop Solar Scheme, that is called Pradhan Mantri Surya Ghar Muft Bijli Yojana. REC is playing the role of a coordinating agency among all the stakeholders like consumers, who are the rooftop owners, vendors, distribution companies, and the financial institution, because the public sector banks have come forward to give collateral-free loan at the rate of 7% to the rooftop owners who are willing to install the rooftop solar. And the subsidy amount has also been increased quite substantially. Up to 1 kilowatt, the subsidy amount is 30,000 rupee, or 2 kilowatt subsidy amount is 60,000, and 3 kilowatt and above, the subsidy amount is capped at 78,000 rupee. We have seen that more than 1.28 lakh registration have already happened, and more than 15 lakh applications have already been received by us, and more than 2.4 lakh installation have already happened. Our effort is that there are certain teething problems with regard to operation of the national portal, that we are working closely in coordination with Ministry of New and Renewable Energy and the distribution companies, and the portal related issues are getting resolved as expeditiously as possible. Going forward, I would like to reiterate that we are committed to increase our loan book to 10 lakh crore by the year 2030, and out of this 30% will come from our renewable energy portfolio. With this word, let me conclude by this address, and we are open for question and answers now.
Just sanctioned more than it is estimated about 40,000 crores, and it is up by 59%. So it is not clear to me where the project is going on and what the sanction you just made it.
This pertains to the renewable energy project, including large hydro projects. Last quarter one in FY24, we had sanctioned project worth 24,000 crore. This financial year, we have been able to sanction 39,655 crore. That is indicating an increase of 59%. And the breakup of this, we have covered the entire gamut of solar projects, solar module manufacturing, wind turbine manufacturing, hybrid projects, large hydro projects, pumped storage projects, green hydrogen, green ammonia projects, all entire gamut of renewable energy projects we have sanctioned.
Thank you very much, sir. My question goes on, solar energy is supposed to be in the technology innovation steps ahead. So how far your CSR or innovation in solar energy cells have you contributed? If not, are you making any headway? Because solar energy can go around to different villages in different forms. Whereas hydro is very cheap, maybe 0.40 paisa or something like that. But it cannot reach unless until transmission wire is there. So how far you are there in the solar cells innovation according to CSR?
Department of Public Enterprises gives us the thematic area where we have to take up CSR projects. As per Department of Public Enterprises, we are supposed to take up our 60% of activities pertaining to the health and sanitation aspect. We have not taken up any project for this solar cell innovation. No such project has come forward to us, but we are more than willing if any such projects come, innovative projects come for improving solar cell module, will more like to support them through our CSR activities.